I'm a big believer that we, as a group, deciding on a target together. There's no point when I can't dictate, and the players. I think the players have to be involved to get ownership on it, and I have worked really well for us. I think this group of players is, in my opinion, and the experience we had last year, is very important that we are ambitious internally, that we also want to be the best we can be, but sometimes we're not going out in the public to tell exactly what we internally decided. I think what we did last year worked really well. Several reachable targets, when then the group was building confidence on it, and that got us a long way. And the group is very ambitious. The coaches are very ambitious. The chairman, the leaders, very ambitious, and we got players here on the back of being a good development club. We have great facilities. We play a certain way of football. We're giving young players a chance. But a lot of those players also came to be successful here. And I meet every player who comes to the club, and what I always will say is, we're giving you a platform to play football, be the best you can be, and go up with us in the championship, or we sell you to the championship. So that is our argument, and that is what we try to do.
Dave Walsh, just a quick question on Amari Bell and the latest contract situation. Have negotiations started and underway, and should the worst come to the worst, will be covered by the Bosman ruling in terms of potentially getting a fee at the end of the season if his contract runs to the end?
One for Gretar.
Like with the other players that ran on the contract last year, and the ones who wanted to keep, we already started a negotiation with Amari that were turned down last year. He wants to try himself at the next level, but he's a Fleetwood Town player, so and we value players at a certain level. We are very competitive, and we don't get bullied by bigger clubs coming in for our players. We are very ambitious. We want to win. We want to win football matches. We want to develop players, and you know, at the moment it's just new speculations. We haven't received anything, so we're just very calm and prepping for next games and the future of the football club. No, he will leave at the end of the season for nothing if he doesn't come down.
That's obviously if he doesn't sign a new contract.
Yeah, going back to Gretar's reference to the scouting that goes on at the beginning of the season, I think, Gretar, if I heard you right, you said that we are in touch with scouts at every single club. Could you outline our scouting system? I mean, we surely don't have scouts at every single club, do we?
I'm very sorry if that was misinterpreted from me being foreign, but we know all the clubs and we scout every club. We don't have a scout at every club, we scout every club. So we know all the 92 clubs and the clubs in the lower leagues, so we know where they are. And we know that they have a first team, 23s and youth, so we know all the players in every club, and then it's up to situations what we'll go for. So no, we know where they are.
And the second part of the question, which might be interesting for some of you, is can you explain our scouting network and what we have at the club?
Well, we have a chief scout, Steve Davis. He's been at the club for the last 4 years. He's highly regarded. He's very trusted with me and Uwe. We have one full-time for the non-league, and then we have part-time scouts, and we have them regionalised. Like I mentioned last year, we have them regionalised all the way from Scotland and down to the south. So we try to get to cover all the teams up and down the country, obviously it's harder to get players that come from the south than players around here, so we're trying to be strong with the clubs in the area.
Comes to this young lad here, then over to you next.
This one's for the manager. If the next match against Bristol Rovers, if you had to pick between Star and 11, which players would you pick?
I think he's been sent by Bristol Rovers. So over to Uwe. What's your starting 11 on Saturday?
Never change a winning team, huh?
Again, that's private and confidential, by the way.
My Scottish is that bad, I'll say the first one. But Mr. Chairman, can we have something done at the Highbury stand? Get the old pensioners getting down the stairs. It's ridiculous. The first game of the season, a blow ball fell 3 stairs down. Can we have handrails done? Something like we used to have with a pole up and it bent at the top and come down, and it's on. So you got hand. Can we have it attended to?
It's one for Steve Curwood.
Never had that reported before as a problem, but if it is a problem in one area, we can look at that. If you identify that, we can see whether we can assist. Yeah, I know there is on the way up in the park side on the top of the concourse end. Yeah, the Highbury. So there's 2 at either end. There's one at this end, the far end of the Highbury, but not in the middle. I granted that. Yeah, we'll identify and have a look at that.
Any more hands up?
Andy Hall. I guess this is for Mr. Curwood and Mr. Pilley, and slightly connected with that last question. Given the high expectations of the fans, everyone here tonight, including myself, based on the near miss we had at the end of last season, how far can we go at Highbury if we progress to the higher divisions? Can we develop within the existing footprint?
Steve Curwood.
Something we're obviously open to as the season progressed, and we've obviously had this thought in the future. But, granted that we aren't ever going to attract huge levels of support, but given the fact that we are trying to grow and steadily do grow, and given the fact that we are turning away supporters away even now, the challenge of pleasant challenge of that in the Championship had crossed our mind at some stage earlier. So we have had some designs done. We worked hard to look at how we would incorporate our good neighbours over there into that development, and should that occur, we have got some initial drawings and thoughts and concepts on certainly how we tidy up the Percy Ronson stand, that far corner, and make it not only increase the capacity certainly for challenging away fans, but create a bit more of an aesthetically pleasing corner, but also incorporating the Highbury Social should they decide to stay where they are for the longer term. So either or with that one. So yeah, we are looking at those sort of proposals. Nice challenges to have, and there is a lot of money that we'd be losing if we didn't do that. If we were, Leeds, I'm sure we'd bring a few here, and Preston and a few other clubs. So many thousands of fans would be turned away, and that ultimately turns into an amount of money which, if you do your sums, would probably equate to building and improving the stadium. So yeah, it is on the to-do list. A Jamie Vardy sale might bring it a bit more forward.
Come on, Chelsea. We've had a couple of questions from Andrew Blundell. A lot of these are aimed at Steve Curwood, so he's been keep him nice and busy at the end. One of them is about the big screen. He feels the quality has dipped this season. I don't know if he means in terms of the panels, but he said, is there any plans to improve the big screen?
Subject to Jamie Vardy. No, it's serious. It's all part of the overall scheme over that area. We didn't do anything because we were conscious we could have ended up in the Championship, and work may have been required in that area. So it's an ongoing thought and discussion, really. We don't want to expend an awful lot of money for little in the way of return when we might ultimately end up developing that corner. So it hasn't been something that we wanted to spend money on at this point, and we feel at the moment it does a job. It does what it says on the tin at the moment without it being perfect, I admit.
No more hands, so we'll go to the back to the questions. I don't know who this is before, Andy or Steve, I suppose. Can you tell me who chooses the music that the players come out to? Andrew Blundell seems to think we need something a bit more upbeat as the players come out. I don't know if that's one for Andy, maybe.
Right, okay, I've got to admit some responsibility to this. Personally, I like it, right? And my opinion is that I want to be a football club that has character. And one thing that we've done in the last 13 years that I've been chairman is we've had pug wash, which still is played when we score, which I think has got that nautical theme and gives us a little bit of identity. But unless, and this can be democratic, unless there is united decision that everybody agrees. What I don't want is to keep changing regularly and to have no identity, and whoever shouts the loudest decides what it will be. I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think it's Fleetwood Mac, it's dreams. I've got dreams for Fleetwood Football Club, and many have come true over the last 13 years. So that's probably the reason why, well, that in fact is the reason why.
Yes, but also from the football point, a lot of clubs, especially from the south, have to come a long way to come to us. There's a long road in, and in Fleetwood the sun is shining much more than in other places. And Saturday afternoon, 3 o'clock, and then you heard the music going out. That put the few teams to bed. And I have to say, please don't change it. It's working for us. Come on, please do it. Keep it going.
Well, that's staying then. David Summers, he says, hi, I'm a 37-year and counting Fleetwood Town fan. Currently on my holidays, sorry I can't attend tonight. What can the club do to increase walk-up attendances? It's a bit with a worry that our core fan base is around 2,600, particularly when we've had a cracking start to the season. Particularly, I think the membership scheme needs to change to give new fans the chance to come to Highbury. Have you got any thoughts on that?
It's a topic we debate at length each year, and we have, even as recently as yesterday, spoke further at length about what we do about our support base. Before I go to the home support, one area of concern, one area that we do want to grow is the away support. We see all our brilliant regulars, many of which are in the room today, who travel to every single game, rain or shine, and we'd like to start to increase those numbers. So we are going to be, asking yourselves questions about how we might do that. But Courtney, who is with us and does a lot of projects around the club, Courtney's been tasked alongside ourselves to look at ways not only improving the away support, which we've already set a marker in the stand by just slashing the prices for everybody, not just season ticket holders, so they are literally half price for everybody. We started with engaging with some of the young lads behind the goal. You'll have seen the noise levels have increased in the last few games, and we are making an effort to give them some identity and support with them with what they're trying to do. But yeah, we agree we do need to do something about it. The membership scheme was a little bit of an attempt to ensure that we drive best value for money out of our away support, and balancing that with our home support. So if we do suddenly slash all our prices down, we take money out of our back pocket by what are considerable numbers of away support, and does represent a considerable amount of income. So we are going to be working on ways of getting tickets out into the right areas, not just with blanket ticket giveaways, because I don't think they work essentially. I think they've got to be more targeted how we deliver them. But I think we've got to do a lot more work with the fans. And I've got a couple of the staff who are going to be working specifically on these particular areas to engage. It may be a supporters group, it may be younger supporters groups. These are all the things we're going to start growing forward. Maybe it is, the price may be wrong, I don't know, but these are a lot of the things we need to do, and we are aware and conscious, and we are going to take some actions on those. And feel free, any ideas you have, the club are only too welcome to receive them and explain why we do certain things, why we don't do certain things. The membership scheme, I think it was a bit messy. It was just trying to protect an element of income and give benefit to our local supports. But we are working hard as we speak on those areas. I don't know if you want to add a few words on.
I'd just like to reiterate what Steve said, that we want to engage with our fan base, and if there are any suggestions from anybody in the room tonight, or anybody goes home and has a light bulb moment and thinks this is what the club should do, then we're very open to ideas. I don't think we can lose sight of the fact that we do have a small population. Of course, we're looking to draw support from the surrounding towns of Cleveleys, Poulton, Thornton, but we are somewhat unusual, and as much as most clubs can draw support from the north, east and the west, we cannot, for obvious reasons. We do all we can. We've had great success over the last decade or so, but we're very much a listening club, and we want people to enjoy their matchday experience. We want them to become walking adverts and tell their friends, their family, and drag them along to Highbury on matchday. So please email the club. Ben over there.
Just on that point, from this meeting last year, we advertised for some fans to come in as a bit of a focus group to talk about the club and what we can improve. And we met 6 times last season. Many of the people that are in the room here tonight came to Poolfoot and various other places and met. And from that came a lot of initiatives that we introduced last season. Things like the voucher schemes in the local shops, that came directly from there. That group even picked the new kit, would you believe? We showed them the different options, they picked the kit. And there was other things like, on a match day now, downstairs there is a PlayStation room, a room that the Ted Lowry suite is now packed out with 6 or 7 PlayStations where children can come before games and not just come to the stadium, watch the football, they can come earlier and play the PlayStation. So there's a lot of things that have come from that, and we'll be doing that again this season with the same sort of things. So if you have got any ideas, we're very, very open to it.
A couple of seasons ago, you used to do like a bus that used to go over wire to pick people up to take them to the game. Have you ever thought about doing it all the way through the Fylde Coast? Because there's a lot of my mates who want to come, but they can't always make it because they live in St Anne's and Blackpool. So maybe that might be an idea. Or bring a friend for half price sometimes. So.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, they're all good ideas, and these are all going to go into the pot. So email those ideas in, Ben, and we'll give them. We'll look at them. I do know a lot of kids do now come from St Anne's and places because of the trams. So I think there's a decent enough public transport network to get here. But I appreciate on certain occasions we might need to support initiatives, which we can do. One thing we are looking to do as well, separate. I talked about the away travel. We are going to try and run a couple of overnight trips this coming season. One upcoming one, which was an obvious one to us, was Plymouth. We're looking to put something onto Plymouth. We're also going to try and support the Fleetwood Exiles over in Brixham, of which there's a number of people from the Fleetwood area living down there with historic links to the town. So we're also going to try and engage with that group as well and get them to the game by an organised coach, as well as running a fans trip down from here. So we should have something out about that in the next few days. So all these sort of things will hopefully start to generate a bit more interest.
This is probably aimed at you, Will, and your team actually, but we've talked before about seeing the development squad games. I just feel there's not enough advertising pre-development games. I don't know when the actual fixture lists come out, but I was on leave from work the other Wednesday, and it pops up on my screen, development squad 141. I would have been down there and spent a few quid over the bar, maybe got my tea down there. I just think we'd like to see the players coming through as well, and that applies to the great teams as well. So the more advertising you can do for that would be better.
Just to explain how the development squad games work, they're not in a league at the moment, the development squad, so the games are often arranged quite short notice, or they're done as where the manager, or Paul Murray, the 23s manager, will call a club and say, can you play this week, can you play Wednesday, etc. It's done very casually. When we play at home, we try to give everybody as long as possible, and usually we'll give 4 or 5 days notice. Excuse me.
Where do you give that notice?
It goes, the press officer is at the back there, but it goes certainly on the club website. We try and get it in.
On the website.
Yeah, it's always on the website. Yeah, just it's on social media and it goes in the Gazette. But just to explain why we don't do the away games. For example, we played Preston this week. It was behind closed doors. A lot of the other teams don't have training grounds like ours that welcome people in. As I'm sure you're aware, a lot of them have big gates, and Preston actually had somebody on the gate stopping people coming in. So we don't advertise those games for those reasons. But it's a good point, and there's a lot of people who have mentioned it. We're going to try and give people as much notice. But what you might be aware of is the development squad are playing in a cup final, the Mawson Lancashire Cup final against Liverpool at Leyland, which is the Lancashire FA headquarters, on September the 1st. That's a Friday evening, and that'll be our development squad, and that's open to the public, so that's advertised as it is.
I agree to some part of that, Brian, actually, that you certainly like the under-18 games, and it'd be good to have a fixture schedule somewhere, whether it's a calendar. I know some bigger clubs obviously have a general calendar, you just go onto it and you can see what's actually going on at the club on certain days, because we're a 7-day-a-week business now, so there's a lot going on a lot of days, and sometimes we can lose sight within the club that, hang on, even the chairman says that, he didn't know the under-18s were playing, and there's all sorts of weird and wonderful teams tipping up at pool foot now, Saudi Arabian teams, and so I think we want to engage more. So yeah, it's a fair point. We need to have a way of putting something maybe on the website, whether it is a permanent calendar with all fixtures where you just go into one place and where they all are. So I
believe it's on Twitter, but some of us old people that's the problem.
Yeah, so we can try and improve that and address that one, because we want more people down to these games, because it's good to see some of the emerging talent, definitely.